What up? So, man, it's your boy Mike on the mic. We here, and you're probably wondering what I'm doing down here. I am too. Here's the thing: I'm next to a peace pond. You probably never heard of a peace pond before, but if you needed to, here's your chance. Oh, I got a little friend. Oh man, wait, he likes the peace ponds too. All right, well, we are here, and we are going to show you probably one of my favorite interviews of all time, and it really was a culmination of a long day of experiences, fun times, wine, togetherness, and most of all, community. Cut to the clip.
Good bacteria lives inside of it.
Within 5 minutes of each other. Span the entire park.
Yeah, everything and over to the dam. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a pipe that runs underground. The pipe is this called an interlake waterfall.
Huh.
Built in the 1800s.
Crazy.
First one out. Yeah. Wah, 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 wah.
Bam, bam, bam.
Hello, how are you? Oh, look at the babies.
For sure. Come on, Cal.
But our landmark series are state grown, so everything's grown on property. We grow it here. This is our Long Green Valley vineyard, and then we have our South Bronx vineyard going towards Frederick Harvest Berries. It's just farmland there, so we don't have tasting or anything like that. But those is where we grow all of our landmark series. They're more lower produced, but very, very great quality. I love them, but so you won't find them as readily in liquor stores and restaurants and things like that. But then our Testing Icon series, we really like mass produce those. So you'll find them all over in restaurants, liquor stores, and these are just as delicious. But it just depends. So sometimes if we don't gain enough from harvest that year, we might have to pull from Virginia, farmers, or New York, and then it's about 50-50. It's natural life, that's all.
Yo, what to do, family? It's your favorite host, Mike on the mic from the Vibe Perspective Podcast. Tapped in with my guys at Ground 3 Radio, DJ OK, big shout out. And we are here at Lake Acadia. Man, this is... I know y'all probably already seen in the video what we put, as the supercut of the adventure we took today. And that led all the way up to this moment. Man, this is an incredible experience. Very, very grounding, nature heavy, a reset that I think was very needed for me and my podcast team. But us at Vibe Studios are super honored. Man, super. This is a pleasure to even be here in this moment technically in front of a peace pond with one of the founders and one of the creators of that pond. Man, an incredible therapeutic and health beneficial place. Man, it's crazy. We have an incredible individual to my left, and that person is a guy who wears many hats, I think. Music artist, videographer, social entrepreneur, TV host, producer, founder, and head coach. Bilal Bahar is here. We got you here, man.
Glad to be here, Champ. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you here with me, man. And I want to thank you for inviting me out to Lake Acadia. This is,
Indeed.
man, this is incredible. Y'all should be here. Y'all, I can't really show y'all how nice this is until you see it for yourself. This Peace Pond is really a spectacle to see. It's really a sight to behold. And to some of my listeners who want to learn more about some of the stuff he got going on and some of the things he's working on, go at evolve_foundation on IG. That is at EVOLVE_FOUNDATION on IG as we go through the interview, so you can match the work to the man himself. And we're here. I want to I want to get right into it.
Hey, let's do it.
I want to get right into it. So I want to start from the beginning. I want to start from, being a kid, your upbringing. You were practically surrounded by poverty as a kid, and I think we talked off mic about like some of your family being from Louisiana and, just your roots coming from them. I want to talk about sort of growing up and how that journey was like as a young kid.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from a huge family.
Yeah.
Mother and father, family of 7. So grew up in seven of us. And like you said, it's the typical story, right? 1974, born in 1974, Baltimore City.
Yeah.
21215, 21216, 21217, 21218,
Yeah.
zip codes. The typical narrative that comes with that when you're in those conditions,
For sure.
but also the narrative that people don't speak about, and that's the family bond
Yeah.
and the love that comes out of those places. So just
sure.
growing up, it was about all of that. It was all about the struggles, the challenges, the love, the ups and downs, man.
Yeah.
It's life.
No, for sure. Shout out Zone 18. You mentioned 21218. Shout out Zone 18, man. Yeah, and I think, man, the early struggles we go through, especially being from Baltimore, I think a lot of times you don't know that you're in poverty when you're in it. Like, I talk about this all the time of, there's a lot of things that we had to get used to that a lot of families in different neighborhoods don't have to get used to. There are things that we're used to seeing that people don't see. There are stressors, there's traumas, there's things that kind of knock us off of our square, if you will, mentally, that we have to deal with as kids, and we take all the way up through adulthood, right? And, if you could, because I think this will definitely play a factor in how the conversation is for a little bit later when we talk about therapeutics.
Sure.
But how was that like, the mental sort of weight of having struggle, having poverty on you as a kid and coming up?
Indeed. I think Dr. Nadine Burke, when I was studying my master's degree in trauma and resilience, I was doing a master's education in trauma and resilience, and I came across Dr. Nadine Burke, right? If you're not familiar with her, name is Dr. Nadine Burke, and she talked about ACEs, a pair of ACEs is a term, ACES. And ACEs stand for adverse childhood experiences, and ACEs as adverse community experiences. And I think that's what you're speaking about, those adverse things that you go through in childhood and how you grow up with those things. And she talks about even how those things affect you medically, physically, biologically.
For sure.
Going through those kind of traumas and experience, those adverse experiences where we normalize, and we don't really know that these were actually dysfunction. We were functioning in dysfunctional communities.
For sure.
But thankfully for the things like I spoke about earlier, just like the love and all those things. But Dr. Nadine Burke talks about those traumas and things like that and how we grow up. And the question is, how do we evolve beyond that? Right? Because those things do exist. And she spoke about it very well. I think that knowing that these things happen, and that's really what I've dedicated my life and my work and my foundations about how do we overcome those challenges? How do we help people evolve from where they are in their environment, right? To where their potential is supposed to be leading them. And so people need vehicles and they need ways and they need strategies to do so. So I think that's what Evolve Community Foundation, its work is all about, and what my work is, my personal mission is about helping people find their way to evolve beyond those ACEs to where they are now.
And I think we'll definitely get into that a bit more. I mean, and it's funny, you mentioned that and I automatically thought about, I can't remember exactly who talked about it the most, but there was like a epigenetic study about how, trauma not only affects you yourself, but trauma can effectively go down in generations. Like, you can only imagine. I mean, we're African American in this country, and we have a great history of a bunch of overcoming of trauma, but there was still that initial thing of slavery. And you can only imagine if trauma affects you generationally. Imagine what slavery did to your ancestors and their children and their children and their children, such that it's actually affecting you medically, and we talk about hypertension in black men, we talk about high blood pressure, all these things are possible, remnants of that trauma we sustained early on. And I think that's very important to talk about, just what it can do to you medically to not be in the best mental health, to not, have dealt with the traumas that we deal with even as kids that we take with us, right? But I definitely, we want to get into that a little bit later.
Dr. Nadine Burke
yeah.
was somewhere. That's where I learned it from, Dr. Nadine.
100%.
Yeah,
we definitely got to put her up here somewhere.
Yeah,
and I want to talk about, it's funny, I learned about a story off Mike about coming up, and there was an incident that you had to effectively save your brothers. There was an incident where there was a lot of water, rushing water. It's funny, there's a lot of full circle moments. I feel like we're going to have this a lot. But if you could explain that story about, having to swim to save your brothers, can you get into that a bit?
Yeah, so I know who told you the story.
Yeah, of course. Big shout out.
What up?
Big
shout out to Larry. What up? No, I think that is about a full circle moment.
Yeah.
The story is about when I was about 13 or 14, and me and my brothers, we were exploring Lincoln Park. Up in Warburg Junction, top of North Avenue, Elamont Hilton Parkway.
Yeah.
Shout out to Warburg Junction. Shout out to Normount Avenue, Normount Courts, just everybody who grew up. Rest in peace, Pop and Corny. They from that neighborhood. Pop just passed. He was an advocate in Baltimore, a huge advocate. I want to acknowledge him because when I think about that area, I think about him.
Yeah.
And I think about his work. So shout out to Pop, Nathan Thomas. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up in that neighborhood, we used to go down in Lincoln Park, which was the woods. It's actually connected to the Gwynns Falls.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about geography or any of that stuff. But we were just exploring Lincoln Park, and we crossed a river, a small river. Just crossed the river, stepped on rocks. It was nothing.
Yeah.
The kids do, right?
Do, yeah.
Well, what we didn't know was that it was raining.
Yeah.
Up north. And then what we also didn't know is that all the rain and water is dropping from the sky.
Yeah.
Oh, it got to go somewhere.
They got to go somewhere.
And it goes through the rivers and through the streams and through the valleys and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it finds its way. So no matter how much of it is coming, it's going to find its way through the rivers.
For sure.
Little or a lot. Well, we found out the hard way. We walked across the river and it started raining. So we was like, let's get back.
Yeah.
So on our way back, the same little path that we tried to cross was not there anymore. And the water, it swelled up. It rose about 5 feet high. It spread about, 2 yards wide, which was nothing but a stream. So we was like, so long story short, my brother swam across first, and it was just rushing. The water was just rushing and rushing and rushing. And he ran to the house and got some rope and tried to throw rope across and save us, and that didn't work. So then I was like, we got to do something. It's still rising. And I jumped in, and I'm swimming. And one moment, the moment that I remember is while I was swimming, and it's just stuck into my mind so vividly, is that I was swimming, and as I was crossing, all down the river, it was like sticks, and I remember tennis balls and trash, and I'm like, what is this? I'm trying to swim across the river, and trash is pretty much hit me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much that made an impact on my life and the work that I do today. Full circle moment.
Yeah, full circle moment.
And so I got across eventually. I eventually made it across through all the trash and the debris that's coming from the communities that people don't realize the trash that they're throwing out is going to end up in our rivers and end up in our bays and in our water cycle. Y'all, please don't let her. Because I might have to swim, or some other kid might have to swim to save some people's lives, and we might get knocked out by a cup or some trash. Come on.
Message,
right. But I think it had a profound impact on the work I do today. So I eventually got across.
Yeah.
And so I ran up North Avenue. If you're familiar with where Lincoln Park is, Franklin Town Road, I ran up North Avenue, Hilton Street, and I ran to the fire station right at the top of North Avenue.
Yeah.
So think about this. My brothers are stranded over there.
Yep.
The water's rising,
Yeah.
so it hasn't subsided yet. It's still raining.
Yeah.
So I run up and I get to the fire station. All right, y'all, come on. My brothers, we gotta save my brothers, and they down the river and they stuck, and I jump on the fire truck. Like, come on, let's go. Man, they looked at me. It was like, we can't let you get on the fire truck. We're not authorized or policy. I didn't ask a question. I didn't debate. I said, okay. I jumped off the fire truck and started running down. I said, well, follow me.
Yeah.
So here I am, 14, 13 years old, running down North Avenue, running down Elamont with a fire truck.
Hey, man.
Sirens.
Yeah.
So needless to say that experience changed my life, and it just really got me connected to the importance of the environment.
Yeah.
The connection to the water and how the water, and because after that day, and you talk about 14 years old, I'll be 50 this year.
Congrats.
The one thing that stuck in my mind from that day to this day is, where did that water come from?
Yeah.
And where did it go?
Yeah.
I could not I was just blown. I was like, where did that water come from, and where did it go, and how did it do that fast, that quick? And then I remember the trash, and I think that was a good shock. Some things are very traumatic. It was a traumatic experience, but I think that was a good trauma, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, 100%.
It shocked me into realizing the power of nature.
Yeah.
It shocked me into realizing the impact that human beings have on our environment. It shocked me to see the impact that policy have on society.
Yeah.
It just all of those, and I'm saying this now, at 13, of course I didn't.
Right.
But as I grew and as I evolved, it really helped me understand how nature can teach us the things that we're looking for, the things that we're seeking. So I try to provide that in all my work that I do today.
Yeah, no, and that's, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think as a kid, when we're in these communities, when we're in these neighborhoods, we don't understand how a lot of these things converge. Like, especially how just a park alone is one of the main places that all of the things in your life intersect, whether it's policy, how the geographic makeup of the park is, that's policy. Based on how much water is coming down, that's global warming, that's policy, that's, erosion of, it's so many things that converge into one place. And I think that could be a profound experience as a kid. And now I'm so glad to know that you were able to take something positive from that, because it 100% could be traumatic, like having to save your brothers, or like that's, having to swim through a torrential downpour of rain is crazy. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad, you learned something great about that, and I'm glad everyone is okay. I do want to keep going a bit, going kind of towards high school. You went to Forest Park. Actually played for the Foresters. Was it Coach Obi Barnes?
Obi Barnes, yeah.
Shout
out to Obi Barnes.
Yeah, big shout out to Obi Barnes, man.
Obi Barnes Jr., my man.
Yeah, yep.
Yes.
You had a pretty promising football career. He was pretty good.
I was
pretty good.
athletically, I think that I was pretty good.
Yeah, and it's funny because your team actually won the Greater Baltimore Football Classic, and what was that, 92? And that was crazy because the game was kind of decided off of one play, right? Like it was
They said you were good. I heard he was good with his research. I heard he was good, but go ahead. You really good.
Man,
Wow.
The game was decided based off of like one particular play, which is like a 74-yard halfback pass. I think you passed it to Omar Parker, which ultimately decided the game. And you're not a quarterback, you're a running back. I just gotta say, a 74-yard halfback pass is insane. Like, insane. That decided the game. That really changed the energy of the entire game. You guys ended up winning that. And I think that's just an example. Like, and I think I'm going to connect a lot of these points together, but I think that's just an example of, like, working alongside those around you and creating great outcomes. right?
Yeah.
Like, I think you have a big investment in community, right?
Absolutely.
And that, to me, even at an early age, even in just high school, like, being able to rally, like, teammates from different schools and to create outcomes that will ultimately benefit us based on, like, being in this together, like, together in this environment and working together and, and collaborating and, like, these things follow us forever, and even early on, you doing that, was a testament to what you're going to do as, 49, 50-year-old guy of, like, creating community and collaborating and, so at least from your perspective, like, where does the interest of community come from? Like, where does that, like, from your mind, where were you influenced to really invest in community at that level?
I always say that the term I was grandfathered into it, right? So I had two grandfathers on both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side.
Yeah.
So my grandfather on my mother's side of the family was a community guy. The neighborhood association, he mentored people. What you got there, Mr. Larry? Hold on, Larry. I see Larry behind the scenes.
Big shout out to Bordy.
Yeah, shout out to
Bordy
Boy
Vineyard.
here. This is my favorite wine, and Larry
Yes.
always know to bring Chambers and Merlot wherever I am. So
Man.
shout out to the Ford family, James, Kayla, Rachel, everybody out there at Bordy's who
Man.
always take care of me when.
Incredible vineyard.
Yeah, we stopped there. Always take care of me. I've been knowing them for 15, 20 years. A lot of stuff.
Community.
Community.
Right there,
That's the same thing you said. Real
Community.
talk. But where I got it from, as I was saying, I was grandfathered into this work. I didn't get the education till later, the formal education. But I watched my grandfather on my father's side, I had a closer relationship with him than my other grandfather, and I watched him mentor the kids in the neighborhood. Right. He was always allowing the kids from the community to play on his front yard.
Yeah.
So I grew up around that.
Yeah.
All the older kids would come,
Yeah.
which were older than me.
Yeah.
They were kids to him. And they would come back and tell me stories. Your grandfather, man, he was my mentor. And, your grandfather. So when he passed away, they kept coming.
That's community.
So they would still come to my house, and I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Obviously.
I'm supposed to let y'all play on my yard. And so I didn't know that that's what I was doing on that end. And then my other grandfather was a community person. He was an entrepreneur. And he was really big into business, entrepreneurship. He owned a lot of things. He owned businesses. He was invested in property.
Yeah.
He was doing community through entrepreneurship and economics development.
Yeah.
He also had an auto garage shop in West Baltimore where he had a boxing gym upstairs. He allowed the boxing community to use his building.
Yeah.
And out of that boxing gym came the people who train Tank today. And so historically...
what is it, Coach Calvin?
I'm not sure the guys. I really wasn't into that part of business.
Yeah.
Was Killer B's, Killer B's dad.
Yeah.
So we were at an event and we talked about that, and he was like, "Yeah, I know that in McKean, Alley in McKean, over top of the garage." I said, "Yeah, that was my grandfather."
Yeah.
He was like, "Wow." So just to know that community has been a part of my life. I was grandfathered. When I say I was grandfathered into it, I was literally grandfathered into it.
Literally grandfathered into it.
And the interesting thing, I didn't know that I was being grandfathered into it, and it was a huge responsibility. But I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't my grandfather,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have the experience and things, but I had the responsibility.
Right.
So I had to figure out, what does that look like in my time? What does that look like in my generation?
Yeah.
And that's what led me to going to school and getting educated and learning how to do community studies. I got a business degree from CCBC, Community College of Baltimore.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. So
We'll talk
anyway, I know you're doing your, see, that's what I'm saying. I got to fall back. Y'all, I heard this guy was so amazing, and I'm
Hey,
witnessing
you're amazing,
it.
man. Come on, man.
You're amazing, and I'm witnessing it right now. So, but that's how I think I was grandfathered into it.
Yeah, it's funny. Stepping into a role and a responsibility, even though you don't have the tools to do it, is like jumping in the river to save you're not a firefighter. Like, throwing a halfback pass to really shift the entire game to end up winning, right? It's like, I think these are things we should start paying attention to, especially, in terms of understanding your story, because you've been put in these scenarios, been put in these situations where you didn't have the tools to like really be the whoever's shoes you had to step into, but you did it. Like you still put the thing on your back and was able to really, I guess, build this up into a foundation level today, right? And it was because you were having that work ethic, having that sense of like, I'm gonna get it done whether or not I have the right hammer or the screwdriver or
I didn't know I couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I love
I didn't
that.
know. I didn't know I
that.
couldn't do it. And shout
love
out to
that.
Obi Barnes in that pass. Let me be clear. I was quarterbacking. I came up as a quarterback. I moved my position to running back when I got to high school. And so the exact play. I was in the huddle. We were down. The sideline was cheering. The other sideline. Because they were up. So they celebrating the side. The coach, I was playing running back in the game. My coach, Obi Barnes, was the coach for the All-Star game. He got in the huddle and said, he can throw.
He can throw, yeah.
Let's do the halfback pass.
Halfback pass. Yeah.
They didn't see it coming.
They didn't see it coming.
Literally.
It's funny you reading my notes.
They didn't see it coming. But it was about being able to leverage everything. You're absolutely right. Community, building community, and trying to leverage your resources. There's a term called Ubuntu. I want to make sure.
Ubuntu, yeah. Things fall apart. Shout out to Dr. Carr.
Oh, okay. Okonkwo, you talking about things fall apart? I didn't know it was in that book.
Yeah.
Really? Ubuntu was in. I got to go back and read that. Wow. But Ubuntu, I am because we are, and I really believe in that. I believe in teamwork makes the dream work, and using your resources, and that all goes back to the ecosystem. Use the environment and you're in the ecosystem to get what you need from it and give it what it needs. Yeah,
that's I think we'll hear more about that coming up soon. I mean, I want to go to 2006 a little bit. So I want to talk about a trip you took in 2006. You volunteered on a trip in Abuja, Nigeria, and on that trip you were inspired by John Hope Bryant, who I think his approach to life is like loving leadership in a fear-based world. Martin Luther King III, and Andrew Young. And I think you inquired like how articulate they were. And you were saying, like, man, like with all this wealth of knowledge, how could I be as articulate as you guys? And they gave you 2 words. Read, brother. And I think, man.
Like, as simple as those 2 words are, it was like
2 words. Wow.
Read, brother.
That's it. So I want to know from your perspective, being in that seat that they gave that huge, profound gem to, like, what did that do for you moving forward? Like,
it changed the trajectory of my life, and it literally put me to where I am now. And what I mean is that I was an athlete growing up, and that's what I was known for. Most people knew I was a dominant athlete. Most people know that I could play football, wrestle, swim, track. I was an athlete. I had 5 brothers. And they kicked my ass my whole life. So I was strong. I could, and then, growing up in Baltimore, West Baltimore, we were encouraged to be great, right? It was, I don't know if it was in the most positive way, but we were encouraged to be great. We were encouraged to be the best, and we were encouraged to be dominant. And so I took that mindset into I take that mindset in everything that I do. And so as far as the Abuja, and at that moment I was because I was an athlete, they pushed me through the system. They looked at me as an athlete. That was the best thing about me. So they didn't really educate. I wasn't educated. It was, literally, unfortunately, the school system at the time, Baltimore City, and some school systems still struggle with this. They were socially promoting me or just moving me through, but they weren't educating me. And I think that's why I do a lot of the work I do now. So I went to Abuja, Africa, because my uncle, he worked in the oil industry for a long time. He's retired now for an oil company. And I told him I want to go to Africa because his work was in Africa. And I was just like, I want to go to Africa. I want to kind of change my life. I want to get out of this where my life was going. And I think that going to Africa, of course, every black man want to be able to go home and go to the motherland. And so I just begged him, pretty much really, literally begged him.
Yeah.
And one day he gave in and was like,
All
all right. He said, all right. He said he sent me on a wild goose chase though. He said, go talk to this person, which was
Right.
Thomasina Cotton. Shout out to Thomasina Cotton, OIC. She passed away,
Yeah,
I think in
rest in peace.
2021. She took care of me in Africa. I worked for her directly. And I went over as a transportation logistics expert. So I
Sure.
was responsible for moving the delegation through Africa, buses, cars, everything. I was responsible for mobilizing security.
What a
It
responsibility.
was big. And again,
What a
I didn't know that I couldn't do it. They
But
said
you're gonna try it and do it anyway. You gotta smoke it now.
I didn't know, right? I didn't know that I could not do it.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
just went in
Just did it.
and
Yeah.
did it. And
Yeah.
but
Love
because
that.
I wanted to change my life. Sometimes people say people want change, and then you got those people who want to change. I'm one who wants to change.
Yeah.
I don't just want change, I want to change.
Yeah.
Because I see change happening in nature. And I don't like the fact that many times we can become stagnant.
Yeah.
So I went to Africa with the mindset that I wanted to change into something different. I wanted to become something different. And growing up in sports and as an athlete, people label you as that.
Yeah.
So by the time I was known as a dominant athlete, school became secondary. So I'm really going into high school with a pretty much a middle school education because I didn't have to do anything
Yeah.
from there on. And middle school, they just push you through. High school was just about you're an athlete.
Right.
Come to class, say hi, we'll give you some grades.
Well, you give you some grades. Yeah. Yeah.
But I will
definitely
say,
love that.
shout out to Forest Park, before I get back to Abuja, shout out to
Sure.
Forest Park and Principal Hall. Principal Annette Howard Hall, I got put out of every school in Baltimore City in 1989. And it was Principal Hall that got me into Forest Park. And it wasn't academically, I didn't get what I think I needed for the future, but socially and behaviorally or mentally, I wouldn't have made it even that far if it wasn't for Miss Hall.
Yeah.
She really cared about me. She told me she wasn't going to give up on me. And so I don't want to say it's all bad because sometimes these systems, you need people in the system that can help you get through.
Yeah.
I wish that they would have been able to reach me more, but I think that's what my job is now. So anyway, shout out to Miss Hall.
Big shout out. Yeah.
Indeed, I can't tell a story about Forest Park without her. But growing, but not having a strong education and then going to Abuja, Nigeria, I wanted to change. And so when I got there, I was just like, I got to do the best I can do with what I had.
Yeah.
I had a translator, I had security, and I did my job. And when we got to the airport, that's when I was with John Hope Bryant, Andrew Young, Martin Luther King III, and they were having this profound conversation. And they were using words and language that I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
Specifically coming out of black folks' mouth, black men's mouth, and me in this close proximity.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
You might see some intelligent people on television, and you're like, you might get you get a few intelligent folks from the neighborhood, but
Yeah.
most of people get education, they leave.
They
the
leave.
community.
Yeah. That's right.
So you don't get to interact with it that
Right.
closely. So, and me, not being who I am, on my Larry Cotto stuff, on my Larry What Up stuff, I Larry What Up the situation, and I just interrupted everybody. I said, "Excuse me, brothers." I said, "I really want to learn how to talk like y'all. And I have to go back to the United States." And at the time, I just wanted to change.
Yeah.
And I said, "What do I do? How do I get to where y'all are?"
Yeah.
And those two words came up.
Read, brother.
Read, brother. And I was like, wow. And so that shifted everything about my life from that point because I started opening up books and I started trying to read. I could read technically,
Sure.
but my literacy level was so low, my comprehension didn't allow me to understand a lot of what I was reading beyond,
Sure.
So I just dedicated myself to figuring out how to get over that and how to teach myself. And I just started thinking again strategies that would allow me to build my literacy level and all that stuff. So I used to take books into the bathroom, notebooks, dictionaries, books.
Yeah.
And I knew when I was in there doing my business, I couldn't go nowhere for a few minutes. So to open the
Start
books,
reading.
and I started reading and started learning.
Yeah.
Ended up enrolling in CCBC and going on, continue that journey.
Yeah.
But that moment, Read Brother, profoundly changed my life.
No, 100%. So I have to mention, like some aspects of your production background. You starred in a production called Charm City. Um, you starred in.
Starred or just worked on it? Come on.
Well, I mean, if you're part of a production, I call it a star.
Yeah. And that's a classic movie.
You know what I'm saying? Classic, especially classics. You gotta, Raising Wolves. I want to say 2012. I think you're a robber too. But also you was like associate producer and production assistant, listed as production assistant, associate producer. Man, like you were even a TV host, right? Like I think it was B-Files. I think it was a Crush Force TV. Man, like you're as active as they come.
He's
like,
good.
like
That was good. That was good. Yeah, that was
you was working. I think that also is a testament to your work ethic. Like people in a lot of the scenarios you were in would probably get tired, probably not feel like overexerting themselves in all of these different realms, these different arenas, but you took the challenge on and you did it anyway. I want to talk to you about also Aqua Kids. I can't forget Aqua Kids. Shout out Adventure Productions. Teaching kids about like marine and aquatic environments. Like that's like I don't know how you find the time, but like where does your enjoyment come from doing TV, film, production, like that thing? Where did that bug come from for you?
Two things. First, I didn't know I couldn't do it.
Again,
Right?
yeah.
I didn't know I couldn't
That's
do
a
it.
gem. We gonna put that up there.
I didn't know I couldn't do it. And then I read a book by Eckhart Tolle,
Legend.
Power Now
Legend.
and A New Earth. And in that book, I'm quoting it, I'm paraphrasing it.
Yeah.
But in that book, he says something along the lines of when to use your gifts like television to produce things that meaningful. I don't know what it was,
Yeah,
but what it said to me was, if I'm gonna have a gift, so I did all of these TV things. I had some opportunities to get in front of the camera, behind the camera at an early age. I remember having the big VHS cameras on my shoulder, and I'm doing B-Files, and we got the manual switchboards and the tapes, and so I read that book, and it was about using your gift to create content and put content in the world that's meaningful, and that's what led me.
Yeah.
I always looked at all my production, all my creation, that I was doing something to put something positive and constructive and productive in the world. So that's what drove me.
Yeah. Man, that's what a driving force.
I was doing Aqua Kids, and it was like I'm teaching kids about marine and aquatic environments, and I'm from North Avenue in West Baltimore. So it was like, and I'm traveling around the world tagging sharks and collecting lionfish and dissecting with researchers from NOAA. And I'm just like, that's what led me. I said, this is what I want people to see. It was different. It was hard for people to see, but I can remember some of my family and my folks from the neighborhood, West Baltimore. Shout out to North and Pulaski. I remember going to funerals to some of my brothers, man, and getting calls from other brothers who were locked up and was like, yo, I saw you on TV, and that's what drove me. Those things drove me. They knew that I was doing something different, that was inspiring people from the communities that I came from to see themselves different and do something different. And again, I didn't know I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Man, no, that's incredible. That's incredible.
So all my TV experience, productions with, shout out to Derek Thomas.
Big shout out Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas put a lot of people on in this city. Worked with a lot of actors. I worked with Trey Chaney and Derek Thomas and a lot of those folks, man, like on Raising Wolves, Charm City, Betrayal. I mean, it was just, we were low budget, B movie, but the same thing happened in any big movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I always tell people I work for Sony. I did a Sony production. I got a check from Sony, so major production of Sony. Now, what I did, that's a different story. But I work for them. Officially,
That's
I work.
irrelevant.
That's irrelevant.
That's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. But I got the check to prove that I work on a Sony production.
Yeah, right.
All right?
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
And it's funny because, I keep going in the timeline a bit, but, like, I think after, like, your Nigeria trip, right, like, you got inspired from the words from those great men to like enroll in the CCBC, right? And you earned an associate's degree in, I think, business administration, which then leads me to 2015 in terms of your story. Like, you started the Evolve Community Foundation in 2015. And, man, I think this September 25th will be your 9th year. Like, that is incredible. Like, foundations usually start and stop within a year. I hear that a lot. Like, I see a lot of things, nonprofits, foundations, orgs, like, they don't live for 36 months, you know. 9 years is an institution, you know, and that is a testament to, like I said, your work ethic and just, you know, this, I don't know, like this understanding that, like, I didn't know that I couldn't do it, you know, like, I didn't know that I couldn't do an organization for 10 years. I didn't know that I can't sustain an institution for kids, students, and community and everybody around it, like, which I think is just an incredible story. And, you know, gotta give you your flowers while you're sitting in front of me, of course, I you know. And you use the Evolve Community Foundation to create and preserve long-term sustainable community wealth and a better quality of life for students, families, and stakeholders of the community you serve.
That is the mission.
Man, far-reaching. Maryland, Delaware, North Carolina, Virginia, like far-reaching, you know. And I think, again, it's incredible what you've been able to do. And just tell me about sort of the early beginnings of Evolve and you having the thought of like, well, yeah, maybe I can do a foundation. You know, what led you to that?
Two things I think about when you ask that question.
Sure.
One is that I had a professor. Shout out to David Crouch. He was my professor at University of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And he taught a course called Leadership for Social Change. And at the time, you know, I thought social change was a bad word. I mean, like, just coming from Baltimore and, you know, the black community, you know, we often are skeptical about, you know, things. And so I thought that leadership for social change was almost going to, like, mark me. You know, like, oh, my God, you can't.
Oh, you're a social change
agent. Right, you're
agent.
a social change agent. And I'm thinking, you know, and so my mind automatically did that. But Professor David Crouch really helped me understand the importance of understanding that. And he was an amazing professor. They call him Dr. Do-Good. And David Crouch really helped me believe that I can do something. So with all this experience, all this knowledge, I had this education now. It's like, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
And he inspired me and actually helped me put the foundation together. Showed me how to structure documents and paperwork and file paperwork while I was still a junior at University of Baltimore.
Wow. Insane.
I was studying, I was an interdisciplinary study major. My 4 concentrations was business, communication, community studies, and civic engagement.
I have that in my notes.
You have it? I should have known.
I'm tight. I know my business. I know my research.
And so David Crouch really inspired me to start Evolve Community Foundation. We started out going into the schools in Baltimore County and just mentoring the young students, and it evolved into where we are today. And the second part of that is I always remember the words of John Hope Bryant. John Hope Bryant, I remember when I met with Kirk Smoke, President Kirk Smoke. We was in
Legend.
Shout out to Kirk Smoke,
Legend.
in Baltimore. He was the president at University of Baltimore, and I met with him. And I was like, you know, I'm here now, and I got the education, all my books. And I was like, what do I do? And he said 2 things. He said, 2 things you got to do. He said, you got to find a mentor. And you got to get somebody in the business community to vouch for you as you're doing this work. Because remember, I was a student up until this point. Nobody knew me as a business person. Nobody really knew. They knew me as a creative person. They knew me in the industry for behind the scenes, a lot of that music stuff. But nobody really knew me as a reputable business person. So he said, I need those 2 things. So that's when I called John Hope Bryant, and I told him about this story. And I said, John, you know, because I kept in touch with John over the years. And so I said, you know, Kurt Smoke said that I need a mentor and I need someone to vouch for me in the business community. He said, okay, I'll mentor you officially. So I was able to officially get John Hope Bryant to mentor me, who's still been in touch with me ever since, all along the way to get to these 9 years. His Operation Hope has always been a part of our growth. We've always had someone from Operation Hope involved in our organization from its inception.
Wow.
from board members to
Yeah.
advisors. Right now we have Janae Roscoe on our board right now. She's
Yeah.
the senior VP for Operation Hope. He has always stayed committed. And the one thing he always said to me about the foundation is he said, never, I said, John, I'm really getting all this responsibility, and I know that one day I'm responsible for the community, the community's wealth. And
Yeah.
he said, well, two things. He says, don't take yourself too serious, but always take your work very serious.
That's a gem.
So I come out. So this is my Captain Buckaroo hat, right? You said I wear many hats, right?
Many hats.
So this is
Many
my
hats.
Captain Buckaroo hat. All right. It's the smallest hat I could find. And so I go into schools and I go into environments and I put this hat on, and people be like, wow, you got a big hat. And I always say, what hat? But I do this because I want to, like John Hope Bryant always said, I don't take myself too serious.
Sure.
This is me not taking myself too serious, right?
Yeah.
But it's taking my responsibility to the community very serious.
100%. Yeah.
And we call this Captain Buckaroo. And the other story is that my stepfather, who was an amazing man, took great care of my mother when my father wasn't in the picture no longer. And he wore this hat, and we just got a kick out of watching him, dance and everything. So he passed away last year, and this is my way to pay homage to him and not take myself too serious, but take my responsibility serious and just have fun doing this work.
Yeah.
But it is tough work.
Yeah, of course.
9 years of, you could only imagine what it's taken to be able to mobilize the resources and the people to keep this going. So thank you for helping us get to the next level. We're approaching 10 years. This is going to be a good part to get out and get exposed, and the work that you're doing is amazing and so helpful.
Man, it's an honor, man, first of all, because, like we said, it's so much work that led to you getting here. Like, that comes with connections, that comes with community building, that comes with, like, a responsibility to your stakeholders, like you said, even students, right? And how many students' lives have you changed? I think that is something that I think in the moment we don't think about, but, later in life when they look back and they're like, wow, like, this really changed my perspective on, just living and mental health and wellness and therapeutics and hydroponics, and there's so many things we're going to talk about. Like, there's so many things that we're able to do in the moment, and the things that you've done that are long lasting are very valuable, and I got to give you your flowers because there's a lot of things you've changed with the work you've done. So thank you, first of all. And even, I talk about the students. Evolve has done like after school leadership programs, giving safe haven to kids, to be able to express, create, bring new life to their communities. And there's also this motto called Beach Life, the Beach Life Track to Success and Purpose System. BEACH is an acronym. It stands for Business, Education, Arts, Community, and Health. And can you talk us through the Beach Life Track and the Ikigai strategy?
Sure.
Because I think these are some pretty high level things you're able to do. And just those small, those 2-3 words, there's so much in that. So could you talk to us through that?
Yes, it's about providing a foundation, right? A foundational system to organize life.
Sure.
And so along this journey, I didn't have a system. And if you know a little bit about technology, which I'm not a technology expert.
Sure.
But an operating system, programs can't function without an operating system.
That's true.
So I think the communities can't function without operating systems. We can have all the programs we want, and then there's many organizations that are programming our community all the time.
All the time.
Right
now.
Year after year, right now. Year after year, they get funding, they program, they run this program.
Yeah.
But what I noticed growing up is that nobody was really looking at a system. And so as I was going through college and getting my formal education, I started noticing that most everything I was experiencing in life fell into these 5 categories. Either business, I did my business, which was money, transactions, economics. Education, I had to learn something. Arts, I had to express.
Yeah.
Community, I needed people. And health, I had to be right mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally.
Yeah.
And then beach, I've always had great experiences with the beach.
I love the beach.
And normally if you say to most people, if you say the word beach, if you say, okay, what do you think about when you when I say beach, right?
Yeah.
Most people are going to put a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Well, so those endorphins that are created
Yeah.
is what we want people to approach life with. That level of happiness,
Yeah.
that level of endorphins, creating the space and the feeling and the vibration that it's okay to go through life like a beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just business, not just a beach in terms of just sitting back. Yes, that's part of it.
Sure.
But think about business that way. When
Yeah.
you approach business, like, approach it like beach.
Yeah.
Approach business like you're on the beach. Approach education like you're on the beach. Approach arts like you're on the beach. Community like you're on the beach. And health like you're on the beach.
Yeah.
So that's what the system is about. Giving students, families, and stakeholders a system that we can agree on. Hold me accountable to it, right?
Yeah.
Hold me accountable to beach life. Let me be accountable to your beach life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I care about your beach. I don't just care about your business.
Yeah.
I want you to get money. I want to get money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I also care about your whole beach life.
Of course.
And so that's what the system is about. We have 5 guiding principles that come from my practice of martial arts. And Gichi Funakoshi, the father of Shotokan Karate, he gave us 5 precepts, guiding principles to follow in life.
Yeah.
And those 5 principles are: seek perfection of character, be faithful, endeavor, respect others, and refrain from violent behavior.
Yeah.
Those are an integral part of our system, of the Beach Life Track for Success and Purpose Community Operating System.
Yeah.
So the system, along with our Beach Life curriculum, help us to deliver our charitable mission to create and preserve long-term sustainable community wealth and a better quality of life for the students, families, and stakeholders of the communities we serve. You're
Man,
amazing. You getting it done. You
You're
do your
ama- no,
homework.
you're
Jeff.
amazing.
No, you're amazing.
You're amazing.
amazing.
You're not gonna
Thank you. You're
applaud
too
me.
kind.
You're
No, okay, you're too kind.
Man, for sure. I mean, and I think this model is really important, and you weren't just planning and talking about the model. Like, you were in it, doing it. Like, you were working with students. You were in the communities. You were talking to families. Like, you were talking to other teachers about, like, strategies they could use. Like, you weren't just ideal based. Like, I think it's so many people that are just that. Like, they talk a huge game, right? Like, they talk about, oh, I'm boots on the ground. Like, but you never see them engaging with students. Like, you never see them making any lasting changes. Like you said, you want to change. You don't just want change, right? Like, and it's cool to just want it, but, like, are you willing to put the work in to do it, right? Like, I think it was even, like, in 2015, I think it was, like, June 2015, you served as the community core stakeholder for the West North Avenue streetscape conceptual master plan, which is a mouthful, Jesus Christ, with the Neighborhood Design Center. Yeah. And, like, you were actually putting real work behind the words that you stand by. And that's, again, a testament to your work ethic and a testament that you actually really want to change things. Like, you want it to happen on a real level, on a real scale. Man,
I had to learn. I literally had to learn. Again, I didn't know I couldn't do. I didn't know I couldn't do it. I had when I
it's
first.
so much more evident now.
When I started getting my education, I think Du Bois talks about the talented 10th, right?
Yeah.
It was something that was innately inside of me that as I started getting this education, I felt like I just had to do something for my community, and I didn't know I couldn't do it. So while I was doing the streetscape, if I got called for the design and help plan, I was on it. I'm sitting in the meetings for 12 weeks. We're designing this new streetscape. They're talking about North Avenue. I walked up North Avenue growing up.
Yeah.
From end to end, right?
Full circle, right?
Full circle. Shout out to my cousin Munir Bahar, who did the 300-man march.
Yeah.
And he walked from one end of North Avenue to the other. That was an amazing thing for Baltimore. And I was thinking, yeah, we used to do that. Like, as kids. Like, that was normal.
We just did that. Now we're making change. Like, you can't write that. Like, you can't make that up.
Yeah, man. I didn't know I couldn't do it. I didn't know that I couldn't. My vision to this day is to make Beach Life an act of Congress. I don't think I can't do it.
I see it happening.
I think that Beach Life should be an act of Congress.
Yeah.
That it should be the fundamental of our education system in the United States. Every single student, by the time they graduate from college, they need to understand business, education, arts, community, and health. They need to have some kind of guiding principles, and they need to be able to have a pathway or a track to their success and purpose in any industry. They should have workforce in place, educate, all of those things. And I don't think I can't do it.
That's the mindset you need to have in making something that lasting happen.
And I'm not taking myself too serious. I'm not saying,
No, bring the hat to Congress.
I'm bringing it.
You
I'm
gotta bring
saying,
it to
listen, I'm saying, and I'm going to say, what hat, right? I don't take myself too serious, but I do take my work very serious.
Yeah,
The things that I've built, the things that I've done, I know this is serious work. I know the impact that it's having on the community, but at the end of the day, I'm still trying to, the game is still going on. Like that 1 minute and 7 seconds left, the game is not, it's still the game. So anything can happen. I'm just playing to win. The beach life game, I'm playing the best I can, and I don't think I cannot do it.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I did want to talk about something in 2015. Speaking of 2015, the same year that your son went to Monmouth. Man, gotta, first of all, we talk about your careers being in football, but your son is also has a very promising career and still going, of course. Very decorated resume as quarterback. Spent some time with the Ravens. Eventually picked up by the Houston Gamblers, technically the Roughnecks.
Yeah.
That was that whole shuffle with the merge happened. So but very high level career as a quarterback, and I know that you're a very proud dad. As you should. Talk to me about sort of. We talk about community, we talk about legacy building. That in and of itself, I see that as a legacy that you've passed down. Talk to me about sort of being, there for your son and, all the great things he's doing.
I think the blessing of parenthood is important, and having children and being able to guide them to find their path, right?
Yeah.
I have two amazing sons. Kenji Bahar is one of them, Taji Bahar is the other one. Yeah. And Kenji's my oldest son, and he sort of, because he was my first son, he was the one that kind of promoted me to, or motivated me to continue my education, because I saw that he was gifted in a lot of things, and he started to come up, and I was watching him, and it was like, wait a minute, he's going to see, he's at the top of his class in school, and because at the time I was just getting back into school, so I was learning. So we were almost learning at the same time.
Wow. Imagine.
And so I knew I wanted to motivate him to continue to go to college. Yeah. So that's when I just was motivated. I said, I want to graduate from college before he graduates from high school. Yeah. We both graduated in 2015.
Funny how life works.
Yeah, and so he went on he had an amazing career athletically, which led him to getting a full scholarship to Mom's University. Yeah. Went up there, did a fantastic job there.
Incredible.
Set records with the school, won the championships.
That are still unbroken today.
Yeah, man.
By the way, I'll put them up there.
And then I think, COVID happened, which really impacted his trajectory a little bit.
Of course.
And it impacted a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Because what it did, it created a bottleneck between athletes that were eligible to go to the league then, and then giving them a break, and it just created this pipeline of opportunity. But thankfully, the Ravens, shout out to the Ravens organization,
big shout out to the Ravens
that did give him an opportunity. Yeah. I'm thankful for that. A home team kind of took care of him. Yeah. Again, it's a business, so
of course.
I've learned that he's a man now. He's doing his thing. I'm so proud of him. Yeah. As I am for both my children and biological children and all the children I mentor. That's what I do it for. Yeah. And as a father, absolutely, I'm a proud father. Yeah. But as a community servant, I'm proud to be serving the community as a whole, because even with raising him, I didn't do it alone.
Of course,
I had wife, I had the community, family, neighbors. Everybody was a part of that process, and that's what the whole Ubuntu and teamwork is about. I even bring that into raising my children and my family.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think it's always funny to think about, just the sheer amount of effort that goes into raising a child. I mean, the whole thing of it takes a village is kind of, we say it a lot, but I think the real thing there is missed a lot, because a village is not just people, it's institutions, it's systems. It's things that will teach your kid whether or not you are watching them or not. Like the television is teaching your kid, right? And that's an entire system in and of itself, right? And there are people who run those programs who have probably not the greatest best interest for your black child, right? And I think it's just so important to know that how many people are really involved in raising a child and how many people are really necessary there.
And that's why we got into the game. We wanted
Yeah.
to get into that game. We wanted to get into that process.
Yeah,
Community, as a community organization, we wanted to be a part of that process to help raise these communities.
Become that system.
Become that part of it.
Yeah.
So we want to mobilize. The practice we have is called asset-based community development.
Yep.
It means to mobilize individuals, associations, and institutions for the benefit of the community.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
And yeah, you 100% you did. I mean, it's funny. I think about you being at University of Baltimore. I think your senior project was an anti-Donald Trump rally, and you had.
I'm gonna tell you how that was not my senior project.
It wasn't?
That was actually a project that I had to do. It
was like a vlog style thing.
It was
So what we had to do a video.
Yeah.
Any video.
Any video you want.
And then so I got invited to go to this rally. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I was just like,
It
somebody
became
was like, they was like, yo, we going down to this rally. We got to get some film and we can use this for the class.
Yeah,
I had no clue what it was. But I took my camera and I started shooting it. It ended up being this anti-Trump rally and for the
full circle moment again.
And and then shout out to Shay McCoy. She was in my class. She was there. I think she was the one invited. No, I saw her there, but I didn't know what the thing was. They was like, "Yo, we going down to this thing," and I just pulled my camera out and started filming, and it turned into this video about thing, and I was like, "Okay,
that's what it is."
What a interesting full circle moment. We're in 2024 now, so.
Yeah.
If you're watching this in like 2030, 2035, you probably know what we're dealing with right now.
Right.
You know, and it's just so funny to see where we were back then.
Dealing with what?
Dealing with the fact that Hillary Clinton and, Donald Trump was going against each other in the presidential election. And everyone was vying for Hillary. And then, we know what ended up happening then. Now we know what's happening right now. So full circle moment. We're doing a lot of these today. But I did want to mention another mentor you had in University of Baltimore, Stu Silberg.
Yes.
Talk to me about sort of that connection, and because mentorship is important through your story, whether it's you being a mentor or whether people are mentoring you, which you're now paying forward. So tell me about that mentorship.
Stu Silberg, that's my guy. Stu Silberg, that was a formal mentoring program set up by University of Baltimore, and Stu was my mentor. Amazing person. He really just helped me believe that I could accomplish what I was setting out to accomplish. He had an amazing career in business. He's well known, well respected in the Baltimore community. Yeah. And I think he was probably the part that Kirk Schmuck was talking about as a business person vouching for me. Yeah. And still, shout out to Stu Silberg, was an amazing mentor for me and helped me believe that I can accomplish some things, or, that I didn't think I couldn't do.
I feel like I gotta put that that might be the name of the didn't think I couldn't do it, so I just did it, man. That's insane, and I wanna talk through a bit of sort of hydroponics, because as we sit here in this beautiful environment, we've been, and I did the supercut at the top of the video where we've gone to the other peace ponds. We've seen some of the natural architecture of geography that allows us to get these therapeutic benefits. But, in being sort of an environmental architect, if you will, designing things that could help us be more, healthy, that could, bring us closer to earth, ground us, root us. Talk about hydroponics and sort of the therapeutic potential of them. And what we could use today in sort of the modern uses. What's on your mind in terms of that? Because I know the wheels are always turning for you.
Sure. A couple things is Mini Wikani. It's a Native American term that means water is life. Sure. And so I understand the power of water from my experiences growing up and through the rivers and stuff like that, the experience I had. And just understanding water is life and being able to see what water can do in terms of physiologically to your body and what earth can do to root you. Yeah. And the bigger picture, as you said, my wheels are turning. Yeah. I believe that you can have small spaces and even challenging communities where you can have something like this. And the thing about this, if you think about it, right, there's fish in here.
Yeah. There are. He's not lying.
Fish is protein.
Yeah, it is protein.
There's you can grow food.
Yeah.
From fish waste.
You can.
Hydroponic. So if you just have a small hydroponic system, excuse me, if you just have a small hydroponic system, you can grow food, vegetables,
Yep.
wellness,
Yep.
peace of mind,
Yep.
safety, healing. I'm like Steve Jobs or what's his name? No, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
I want one of these in every home
Yeah.
like a computer. I want a peace pond in every home
Yeah.
of every American or every person in the world.
Yeah.
Every human being on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think that these things represent life.
They do.
And it makes you feel whole and helps you stay grounded and rooted.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that leads me more towards sort of graduate program at Morgan. I want to say landscape architecture. And that's exactly that, right? Like, that's like full circle moments again. I don't know how many we're going to have, but it's a lot already.
A lot of it because I knew that I had to tie these things together. I didn't know how.
Yeah.
So I did. I went to Morgan
Yeah.
and I got accepted into a Master's of Landscape Architecture program. I got into another certificate program. Again, one thing I really want to talk about is people like myself who's really dedicated and committed to wanting to go to school and educate myself.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's hard to find funding. So if anybody have resources, for the old fella, man, please. I'm ready to go to school. I have a 3.5 GPA.
Smoking.
I love studying. I love learning. And the challenge is it's unfortunate, like you got people who really aren't as passionate about education that are getting full rides.
That's
that don't
true.
even want to be there, and I've experienced that.
That's true.
So shout out to Morgan State, shout out to all the institutions I went to, but we do have challenges that we do need to address. And landscape architecture, I took a few courses there. I didn't complete the degree, but it really helped me understand that I am a landscape architect.
Who'd have thunk it?
I didn't think I couldn't be.
Didn't think it could be. 100%. That's great. That's great. And I mean, as we kind of sort of get to a wrap a bit, because I feel like I could sit out here with this incredible background right here. We've been at these peace ponds all day, been visiting nature all day, and I haven't been able to get enough of it. And I feel like I got to do it a lot more than I've done, because you get so disconnected. You're in the city so often, you don't really get to reroute yourself and get a reset in nature. And I think this is great work that you've done of being able to really reconnect us back to those natural roots. And, I do want to talk a little bit, as right before we close, this year, Maryland Association for Environmental and Outdoor Education. A lot of work, lot of work there. Can you talk us a little bit about some of that work you're doing this year?
Yeah, Mayo, partner with the organization, amazing partner, led by Laura, amazing human being, Mary. They just have some amazing folks, and they have a partnership with Project Learning Tree, the Forest, Sustainable Forest Initiative.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get deeper into this work. Like you said, the more you get into it, the more you want from it.
Yeah.
And so I just started taking the same ambition and same passion towards learning about all the other things, community, landscape, and I just started taking courses with Mayo, and it just led me to getting certified as a facilitator and going out here starting to teach, and I'm writing curriculum, science curriculums for schools, and it just made me really realize that there's some statistics that said that African Americans only represent 3% in this green industry, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if I can encourage people to get into this industry, not only just make a living, but have a quality beach life in the outdoors. There are people right now that are researching on boats and on beaches, and this is what they do for a living. I've done it with them.
Yeah.
But I'm now trying to both do it for myself and my organization, because at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. I had to take 9 years to build an organization. I had to take 20 years to educate myself. But at the end of the day, I just want to be able to make a living, have a quality beach life, being in these spaces.
Yeah.
What comes out of it is beautiful creations that you can feel.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really just being in these environments as much as I can, as often as I can.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, I mean, we, on the drive over here, we're listening to some of your music. And you are an artist. I mean, I don't know how many hats you want to wear, but you are 100% an artist, if I ever heard one. If you haven't heard his music, you need to tap in. And he is a great selector of soul samples. I'm a big stickler on beat selection,
Nice.
and you killed that. You one of them. You're definitely one of them ones. Yeah, no, I mean, and like you said, I think we talked about it. Like a lot of things that you are interested in, a lot of things that you don't get to put out, you usually put it through the music.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to self-express some of the things you really have in store for the community at large. And I only see great things coming from the Evolve Foundation. I only see great things coming from everything that you're involved in. And there's so many things that you are involved in and to be involved in the future. You know, I can only imagine how great the impact that you're going to have is going to be, because it's already monumental. And, you know, one more time for the audience that is watching and listening, where can they follow you? And, yeah, where can they tap in with the Evolve Foundation?
Yeah, well, let me just wrap by saying that the art that you talked about is the A and beach life.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to express themselves.
Yes.
You can't just do it through business. You can't do it through education. Art is so important. So that's why art is a part of my beach life, and
Sure.
I practice my beach life. And we're now working with Anne Arundel County Public School System. We're working with Baltimore County Public School System. We're working with Baltimore City Public School System. We're having conversations with Harford County Public School System.
Yeah.
We want beach life. We just started formally putting in place Larry What Up, who y'all know very well.
Big shout out, Larry. What up?
He is going to be
Watch
the
that interview.
commissioner for the Beach Life game. So he's going to be the one coming out and telling people when the game starts. Meaning school happens on this date.
Yeah.
What grade, he's going to really start breaking that stuff down and getting that message out.
That's incredible.
So the way you can stay in touch with the game is Evolve Community Foundation, Inc. Shout out to my amazing team, my board members, my executive director, Antonio Gardner, all of our amazing board, our chairperson, Mary Curl, all of our board members, amazing people. I mean, again, I could not be standing here, sitting here, without the background support, the people behind the camera.
That community.
The community. All of it's a part of the work. I am because we are. Right?
Yeah.
And teamwork truly does make the dream work. So if you want to follow us, and for me, what I want is for us to keep evolving. We have a long-term strategy. Evolve is designed to be around hundreds of years from now. So we want to partner with institutions, organizations, associations that are long. We met with Bobby Pregel and Bordes. Those are people and institutions or families and business that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Institutions like Morgan State, 150 years. We have a workforce development partnership. CCB, been around 60, almost 70 years.
Yeah.
All of these, I think if when we connect to those and then live our purpose, which you talked about, Ikigai, is living your purpose, is what we hope that we can put out in the community. So if people want to be able to keep up with us, Evolve_Foundation on Instagram.
Yep.
Evolve, www.ecfinc.org is our website. And really just listen out, look at your podcast. Shout out to all the people that are helping us. You can look up Cotto Consultant.
Yep.
We're all a team, and we're all working together to create and preserve long-term sustainable community wealth and a better quality of life for the students, families, and stakeholders of the communities we serve, so that we can deliver our proprietary system, which is the Beach Life Tractor Success and Purpose Community Operating System. And we follow our guidelines, which is seek perfection of character, be faithful, endeavor, respect others, and refrain from violent behavior. And we call this whole thing the Beach Life Game. So in closing, we want everybody to practice your best beach life.
Yes, sir.
Get in the game and stay in the game. Beach life.
Beach life, man. Come on, man. You heard it first. Coach Bilal, man, this was an incredible talk. This won't be the last time we talk, of course, because there's so much more work to be done. And I just know that I'm glad that you're one of the main people in front doing the work on your own terms, and I can't wait to see what's happening. And Vibe Studios, Ground 3, we're going to be supporting. We're going to be right there rooting you guys on and being involved in the work, because we want to change. We don't want change, So absolutely, man, a pleasure.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yours truly, Mike on the Mic. We here from the Vibe Perspective Podcast. Tap in my guys at Ground 3 Radio, and we're here signing off from Lake Acadia. Peace. Yo, what to do, family? It's your favorite host, Mike on the Mic from the Vibe Perspective Podcast. Tapped on my guys at Ground 3 Radio. Man, Lake Acadia. This has been This has been incredible. Hospitality from the beginning, checking out Bordy's, checking out Mr. Prigo and his farm with all the cows. Man, from the peace ponds to coming here and enjoying this incredible talk. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Man, Vibe Studios, we doing a lot of things, man. We doing a lot of things. And I need you to tap in and support us so we can do even more things to bring you more content and bring you closer to people who are really affecting change in our communities. Man, Mike on the mic. Vibe Studios. Peace.